Hello there, Scapers. My name is Xenavilius, and welcome to the epic fail that is the Gemstone Dragon update, not just for Jagex, but also for myself. First of all, what I didn't realize was that you needed the raw wild pie to make the wilder pie, which will boost your Slayer level by 6 levels for 6 minutes without dropping, and it required the raw wild pie with some ground dragonstone. Not the wild pie, but the raw one. Anyway, I bought the wild pie in massive quantities for about 15 mil, about 11 minutes before the update. Because, I didn't realize today's update would be the Gemstone Dragon update. I really should have read up, because a lot of people did make a profit from stocking up on supplies for the wilder pies. But anyway, I did make a loss, but then I realized you need the raw wild pie, and I bought a bunch of those at 70k each, in the hope that I would be able to make a big profit by selling off the wilder pies, which I was going to make with the dragon stones I had in my bank already. Unfortunately, all this was done about 15 minutes before today's update, and as soon as I logged in, I tried to rectify my mistake by making as many wilder pies as possible. Unfortunately, I didn't stand a chance, but I was not the only one who was stupid enough to mass buy wild pies, because I think other people made the same mistake, because I sold back the wild pies for about the same price that I bought them at, so I made no loss there. That was a massive relief, although at the expense of someone else, which is not good. I sold a few wilder pies for about 50k each. Not great, to be honest, because I'd bought the raw wild pies at 70k, plus I added some dragonstone dust to them and had to bake them, which was not perfect. You lost quite a few pies through burning. So yeah, not a great start to the update, but I decided to put that behind me and go explore this update for what it was worth. So it turns out that there are 3 dragons in this dungeon: the Dragonstone Dragon, the Onyx Dragon, and the Hydrix Dragon. The Hydrix Dragon requires 101 Slayer to kill, which you can boost using a normal wild pie or a wilder pie. The advantage of a wilder pie being the fact that your stats constantly stay boosted until 6 minutes after you've eaten the pie, whereas with a wild pie they will drain every minute. What are the requirements? Well, you need to do the Shiloh village quest, and you need to have done the hard Karamja tasks. So once you do the hard Karamja tasks, you will get a set of gloves which will teleport you directly to the entrance to this place, and in order to actually be able to kill them, you need to be on a Slayer task, or you need to donate a certain number of uncut stones, which will grant you a certain number of kills. With a dragon stone, you will only get 2 kills per dragon stone that you donate. With an Onyx, you'll get 400, and with a Hydrix, you'll get 4k. I wouldn't recommend donating a Hydrix unless you're an Iron Man or something and you got a bunch of spare Reaper points lying around. I donated an Onyx because I couldn't be bothered to just bring a load of dragon stones to hand in, and these granted me 400 kills before I had to donate another one. I gotta say though, I used nowhere near as much of my quota as I was expecting to. I thought I'd be camping here all day to try and get the new outfit pieces, which are, by the way, tier 80 hybrid gemstone armor. I'll talk about it later, but essentially these dragons are absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. Alright, they've got a decent special attack. They are fairly difficult to kill. Not difficult, but like, you can't really AFK them. Harder than Celestials, I'd say. Around the same difficulty as Rune Dragons, without the animations and the different special attacks. I only killed the Onyx Dragon and the Dragonstone Dragon. The Onyx Dragon has a special attack where it steals some of your health to heal itself 5k damage, and I think you can dodge it by walking sideways a couple of squares, which isn't too bad, but I just stood there and tagged it. But with Soul Split you can heal back the damage you take fairly easily. You obviously need antidragonfire and overloads and all that good stuff. You don't need Dragon Bane, and a Steel Titan with scrolls helped me a lot here because they seem quite vulnerable to that, and they seem quite vulnerable to range in general because that is their weakness. So I did about half an hour of these guys, which got me about 66 Onyx Dragon kills, and then I decided to do some Dragonstone Dragon kills, hoping they would drop something good. By the way, one of the guys who was next to me apparently sold a helmet, which you can get from the Onyx Dragons, for 20 mil. He might have been one of the first people to get it and sell it, so I don't expect them to go up, unlike the Luck of the Dwarves, which was out last week. That one went up because fortunate components are running out in the game. So it's harder and harder to make these Luck of the Dwarves rings. But in the case of Gemstone Dragons, the rewards are gonna be coming into the game faster and faster over time because they're not limited by things like fortunate components. They're a PVM drop, and the rewards aren't particularly useful for the high level PVMer. It could be useful for the hybrid PVMer. I'm not sure this armor can be augmented, by the way. The reason I say that it could be useful is because you can actually enchant this armor. So first of all, the Dragonstone dragon drops the boots and the gloves, the Onyx dragon drops the legs and the head, and the Hydrix dragon drops the body. And you can enchant this armor with uncut stones for a certain number of charges, which will give the effect of that particular uncut stone. So for example, if you enchant it with the uncut dragonstone, you'll get 10 charges, which basically means I think you'll get 10 effects of the dragonfire bolts E. With an Onyx one, it's got the effects of the Onyx bolts E, and it also gives 100 charges per Onyx, which is good. And with the Hydrix, it gives the effect of the Hydrix bolts E, and it gives you 1,000 charges, because Hydrixes aren't easy to come by. Just a quick recap on what these bolt effects are. The Dragon bolts E have the Dragon's Breath enchantment. This gives the bolts a chance of inflicting a dragonfire hit against a target, dealing 14% extra damage, unless they are a fire type creature like a dragon, or they've got the anti-dragon shield or the anti-fire potion. I'm not sure what the chance of it activating is, but 14% extra damage doesn't sound like a huge amount, especially if it only activates very rarely. But it will consume 1 charge per activation, and it can activate with either auto attacks or abilities. The special effect of the enchanted Onyx bolts is a life leech special, which gives the caster a chance of doing 20 to 25% extra damage and healing their life points by 25% of the base maximum of the hit that triggered it. It doesn't work on the undead, apparently. And the chance of the special attack occurring is increased if you have completed the Elite Seers task. So although this applies to the bolts and not necessarily to the armor itself. Also has a second passive, and it's basically the same but without the extra damage dealt, but with the 25% healing effect still active, and it works with any ability that you use, including thresholds and ultimates. And finally, the Ascendary bolts, or the Hydrix bolts E if you like, have the Death Mark special, which basically means there is a chance that you will gain a status that will grant you an additional 1% extra adrenaline per auto attack or ability when you attack any target, and it lasts for 15 seconds. It can also be refreshed while active, and it will use up 1 charge per activation. This isn't too bad, I guess, because you get 1,000 charges, but if you consider that Hydrix is 27 mil, then maybe it is, maybe it isn't worth it. Now what would be useful is if this tier 80 gemstone armor was actually augmentable and perkable, because then it would actually be quite useful in a variety of situations, such as Slayer, but also tribrid bossing, such as, I don't know, trio necks or DKs and things like that. So I killed 73 of these dragons and decided I'd had enough for a while. 66 of those were Onyx, and about 7 of those were Dragonstone dragons. When I price checked it all, it came to 147k, which is about 2k per dragon. Probably add another 50 to 100k in terms of coin drops, which I didn't count obviously because it went to my money pouch. So yeah, it's still around what, 3-4k per dragon, which is pretty bad. Very bad, in fact. So unless they buff it, I don't think it's worth doing. Also, I made a massive loss on the raw wild pies. I bought them at 70k each, sold them at 48k each, and yeah, I made a 14 mil loss. Decided to keep about 20 of them for myself and make some wilder pies for myself. Burned 2 of them, but I had 18 wilder pies in my bank, because I was keen to try out the Hydrix dragons despite the depressingly bad loot of the dragons just below it. But first, I didn't want to skip my Adamu task, so I was thinking, okay, let's do this Adamu task and try and get the new dragons as a task, because at the time I thought you needed to sacrifice a Hydrix to kill the Hydrix dragons, and you had to sacrifice the type of gem or higher in order to kill a dragon. So I thought that an Onyx would allow you to kill the Onyx dragons and the Dragonstone dragons. Dragonstone would only allow you to kill the Dragonstone dragons, and Hydrix would allow you to kill all 3, but that wasn't actually the case. So I went to Edamu's, did my task, actually got a Slayer level and 3000 total level there. total virtual level. That was a pleasant surprise. Didn't get an Adamu pet, don't think I will after that fiasco where I didn't pick it up. If you don't know what I'm referring to, click on the card on screen or in the description. But yeah, I got a few highly powerful Adamus, didn't get much drops. I killed about twice as many Adamus as I did Gemstone dragons and got about 4 times as much GP, about 1 mil. So that was quite depressing in itself, seeing as Adamus have been around for years and they're still better money. After that, I decided to try and get the Gemstone dragons as a drop, as a Slayer task should I say. I spent about 240, so I skipped about 8 tasks trying to get it with VIP tickets, didn't get it, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to waste any more, because I saw someone on Reddit spend 6k Slayer points trying to get this, and it didn't get the Gemstone dragons as a task. So yeah, plus they're not really worth doing anyway, so why would you waste Slayer points on them? So that would be my advice to you guys. I got another Adamu task which I'll do later, try and get the Adamu pet, pick it up this time. And yeah, so I took a few of my wilder pies and got ready to kill the Hydrix dragons. And it turns out that whatever gem you sacrifice, you get X number of kills. So 2 from an uncut Dragonstone, 400 from an uncut Onyx, and 4,000 from an uncut Hydrix. It doesn't matter which type of dragon you kill. So yeah, I had about 320 odd dragons before I had to sacrifice some more gems to kill some more. I went there and started killing them, and they basically had the same special attacks as the previous types but more HP. But this time I actually spotted that you can see the spikes coming from them towards you, which indicates that they're going to do a 3x3 AoE attack, which will drain your HP and it will drain your adrenaline. All your adrenaline in fact. So that's not good, but it is fairly easy to dodge. Like I said, just move 2 squares away from where you were standing and you can completely avoid the attack. Just look out for the Godzilla spikes coming from the ground, because they do look like Godzilla spikes, to be fair, if you remember Godzilla 2014. Anyone? Also, if you get hit by their special attack, any basics that you cast will have their adrenaline gain reduced by 50%. So 4 to 5% adrenaline gain instead of the 8% that you'd expect by using basic abilities for a few seconds after getting hit by their special attack. Which means, basically, don't get hit by the special attack. It's fairly easy to dodge and just move away 2 squares. But these guys were a bit more fun to kill because they posed a little bit more of a challenge than the others. The drops are slightly better, but not much to speak about. So unless there's a complete overhaul of the drops, or they add in some better drops, or they increase the drop rate of the gemstone armor pieces, I don't think it's worth killing these guys, let alone preferring them as a Slayer task. Just a few more things to finish up. To be fair, the Hydrix dragons have slightly better drops than the others. They may be worth killing, especially if you factor in the long-term effect of the gemstone outfit pieces. You might actually make a decent profit, but I can't really comment on that right now because there hasn't been much time since the release of this update in order to factor in that effect and see what the drop rate is and so on. These dragons do remind me of like our hats, which have terrible drops, except for the Seryu's Fang or Claw, which is worth quite a bit, and it's used to make the Mizuari Spear. So it might be another case of that, where it's almost dead content, but some people still like to camp it just for the chance at getting the Seryu's Claw or Fang. I forget which one you get from the R-Hats themselves and which one you actually have to buy from the Waika reward shop. Oh, and you might want to bring your Dragon Slayer perk, because that will help at these dragons. I'm not sure how much XP you get. If you're looking at the Slayer side of things and you're wondering whether it's worth to kill them for the Slayer XP rates, I'm not sure how much they will give per kill, but if they give a decent amount, like Rune Dragons, then it may just be worth killing them, because they are quite fast to kill. That's one thing I'll give them. And you can store 60k kills at a time by donating uncut gems. Plus, you won't use up any of your gem charges, if you like, if you're on a Slayer task. So it will just freeze your kills stored if you're on a Slayer task and killing them. As soon as you finish your Slayer task, it will start taking kills from the number of kills you've stored. So all in all, I would not recommend killing these unless they get a buff, or unless you figure out that the Slayer XP rates are good enough to be able to prefer them or do them whenever you get a Slayer task. I also tried to use the Book of Death here, which I hadn't used since the day of release of that back in January, when everyone lost their trim comp keeps. It's good to see that it works here, because essentially does 60k damage and insta-kills the dragons, which by the way count as adamant dragons in terms of the type of bones they drop. Not sure that you'd be able to kill them if you had an adamant dragon Slayer task though. I also brought the luck of the Dwarves ring, but I kept forgetting to switch to it whenever I killed them, so yeah, that was kind of pointless. But yeah, that's all for this update. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.
Stay